And welcome in to Pressbox Live, and we are brought to you by C3 American Exteriors. Go to their website at c3america.com to get a brand new roof for just the cost of your insurance deductible. There is no greater cost that you might incur to your home than your roof. I trust the people at c3america.com. And joining us tonight is my co-host, as always, on these Pressbox Live Zoom videos, Gary Stein, and the lovely, talented Lacie DeCosta, who happens to be the wife of Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta. And Lacie, I start out, you're a big Baltimore sports fan because you're from around here. Exciting news as we hit, and it's not football news. John Means pitched a no-hitter. Was that exciting for you and Eric?
Very. I mean, I I was in the middle of like carpool and all the different things. And of course I get like the updates and stuff. And I kept saying, John Means on Twitter. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And, of course, like it's so awesome. So awesome. When was the last time? Like 50 years that's happened?
The last time the Orioles had a complete game no-hitter was in 1969 by Jim Palmer. So it's been 51 years.
52, Stan.
52.
Yeah. So
anyway.
I definitely grew up a huge Orioles fan. My dad's company helped build both stadiums. So we had season tickets right behind the opposing team dugout.
Now your dad, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, so I was a diehard Orioles fan, and then still am, but our house is a little bit divided. But Eric being from Boston, so
that's something we got to talk about. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I am, a huge Orioles fan. Huge.
All right. Well, your dad, George, who passed away a few years back, owned a company called L&L Supply, which did supply all the bricks for first Camden Yards and then M&T Bank Stadium. So he was a huge sports fan, and he got very friendly with Art Modell. Could you talk a little bit, and we're going to get into talking about Eric and the draft and all that, but talk about how you first met Eric because of that relationship.
So I'll tell you quickly how I was a senior in college, and my dad had called me on the landline and said, I have a secret to tell you. And I said, what's that? And he said, Maryland Stadium Authority just called me. The Browns are coming to Baltimore. And I was like, what? What? Like, what? That was just like such a crazy. He's like, the only reason I know is because, they want us to provide the brick for the new stadium. So truthfully, the coolest part of the whole story is that how my dad became so friendly with the Modells is because Art and Pat actually came into his sales office to pick out the brick themselves. And they wanted it to look like a college feel. And of course, my dad, being from Baltimore and having, the relationship with the Maryland Stadium Authority, it was just a match made in heaven. And my dad had lost his father, and he and Art just clicked, and they became super close. And so he used to travel with Art quite a bit and got invited to a lot of crazy things like going on the field and, different events. And he ended up, was like, how did I end up here? This is just like incredible. It's like it's like a kid's dream. So, and he was in his 50s. So anyway, that's how Eric and I met. The last game at Memorial Stadium, I was home from college, and I was actually, my dad and I were going to get a Christmas tree, and he had asked me, he's like, what do you want to do when you graduate? And I was a sociology major, and I wanted to work in community relations, and he was a little bit nervous about the path that I was heading in, working with like juvenile delinquents. And he said, I said, well, how about I just work for L&L? And he said, no, I want you to do your own thing for 5 years. So I said, well, can I talk to the Modells? Do you think maybe I could do something in community relations with them? Like I'll carry water, I'll do anything. So we went to the last game at Memorial Stadium. I was on the field with my dad, and Eric was with Ozzy, I guess, up in one of the boxes or looking down. And he asked Ozzy who I was. And Ozzy said, that's one of Mr. Modell's friend's daughters. And he was like, I got to figure out who she is. And so he asked David who I was. And David was like, oh, forget about it. And Eric's like, I'm going to marry that girl. And he just made it like his mission at that point, because he's so competitive. He was just like, I'm going to figure out who she is. And so after that game, we went to the Christmas party. It was a closing out of Memorial Stadium, which was kind of sad. I mean, it was like a really strange feeling. Having grown up in Baltimore, and, you know, my dad was pretty nostalgic about it, having gone to Colts games and Orioles games and Memorial Stadium. And it was kind of sad, but it was also exciting because the Ravens and this awesome new stadium was going to open up. And so we're sitting there at this Christmas party, and my dad's nudging me to talk to Mr. Modell. And I noticed this guy kind of across the room kept looking over at us. And it was me and my dad and my sister and my mom. And I was distracted, but I'm thinking, like, I need to talk to Mr. Modell. This is my only shot to ask him if I can send my resume, but I'm definitely interested in whoever's looking at me, looking from across the hall. So I looked at my sister and I said, that guy is staring at us. And my sister Maggie was like, why don't you go up and get a drink and we'll figure out who he's looking at. So I come back.
Good thinking. Yeah.
And I sit down, and she's like, he's not looking at me. So anyhow, that later I talked to Mr. Modell, and of course he was like, please send me your resume. He was so gracious and wonderful. And I was like starstruck about the whole thing and couldn't wait to get home and get my resume together. And so I was walking to the coat check. We're getting ready to leave. And I turn and I see Eric walking towards me. And I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. Don't mess this up. And here comes my dad, 6'4", huge man. We were best friends, my father and I. My father is my best friend in the whole world. And he's like, you ready to go, kiddo? And he like hits me on the back, like taps me on the back. And Eric just like looked at me. I looked at him, and it was no go. So we kind of walked out, and I remember going back to college and telling my friends about him and just saying, like, there's something here with this guy. I don't even know what his name is. I knew nothing about him. And I ended up getting that job. I worked in marketing. I worked for Teresa Botto, who is the most amazing first boss you could ever ask for. She's a wonderful person, still with the Ravens. And the first week we were there, I was there. There was a happy hour, and it was right before the end. It was right after the end of, I guess, mini camp, and they were getting ready to send, all the personnel off for the summer or whatever. And that's when my job got really busy, because we were getting ready for, getting ready for the season to begin and sponsors and all that kind of stuff. So, we're at this, I can't even remember the name of the bar in Padonia Station. So yeah. Happy hour, and Eric walks in, and I'm thinking, oh geez, here we go. And I said I made my sister come with me because I didn't know anybody. And I was like, that's him, that's the guy. And so I go up, I'm kind of like, go up to buy a beer or whatever, and Eric standing there, and he's like,
not know his name at this time?
No, I knew his name, because I immediately looked him up in the media guide when I got a job with the Ravens.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's him. So he came up to me and he said, so you're the new chick. And I was like, oh.
That's a great opening line, isn't it?
It's a great opening line.
New chick. Hey, I've been waiting 6 months to hear you talk, and that's the first thing. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
So I was just going to ask you, Lacie, do you ever, I'm sure you probably do, okay, but there you were, a senior in college trying to plot out your life, and all of a sudden this one phone call from your dad about the Ravens coming to Baltimore, and then this connection being made, like, until that minute, you had no idea about anything that's going to happen to you over the next 20 or 25 years, and your life changed instantly.
Yep.
So do you ever go back and think about that?
I do. You know how those things like that change your life, like just you rehash them in your brain. And I remember exactly where I was when I got that phone call. And I remember running into my friends in college that night that were from Baltimore. And I was like, don't tell anybody, but I just heard some really big news, and just being really super excited. And just like, but if you go back and you think about that moment for everybody, like what was that like for everybody when they found out that this team was coming to Baltimore? Like, it's changed so many lives, and for so many people, and this whole city has changed because of that one phone call and that one decision that the Modells made to come to Baltimore.
Gary, go ahead.
So,
You got it now.
And I was thinking about this today as I was preparing for our talk. No matter how old you were then, whether you were a college senior or Stan and I were with Ravens, to be Ravens radio, that next year, we were all like kids. No matter how old you were a kid again. And like this journey, Lacie, over the last 25 years has just been like us, no matter how old we were then, us growing up with the Ravens, Super Bowls, success, Hall of Famers, Eric becoming general manager. We've all just grown up over the last 25 years.
it's so true. It's absolutely so true. It feels like I can't even believe it's in 25 years. It's been so much fun, and just, I don't remember what sort of life was like in Baltimore
Before,
without, right?
absolutely.
So, and those 13 years when we didn't have a football team, and, these kids that have grown up now with the Ravens, like, it's funny because I talk to a lot of kids now that just, they didn't know what it was like without a football team. And they have this franchise to like, just, adore every single day and follow, and the excitement of it all. And it's amazing. It's so great for Baltimore. And I couldn't be more proud of being a part of it, and just the small way that I am. And Eric's involvement, obviously, and his loyalty to stay in Baltimore and just want to be here. And it's just, it's been amazing. So
I wanted to talk to you whenever we talk to Eric at an event, or if he would do an event like this, he always talks about the days when he used to be, Ted Marchibroda would send him over to get his car washed, and he'd give him like $100, and he'd say, keep the change or something like that. And the word you used before about how competitive he is, when you said he made up a decision that he was going to marry you, and all that. How much of that competitiveness do you think has led to how successful he is at what he does?
Oh my gosh, 100%. He's competitive everything. He's competitive about the kids hurrying up and getting into the car. Everything is a competition. So he does not want to fail. He is 100% like he doesn't want to embarrass his family. He doesn't want to embarrass himself. He is 100% completely invested in always wanting to succeed and be the best. So it's been ingrained in him ever as a child. I wish you could have his dad on here, because he could tell you 1,000 stories about, him pitching a no-hitter, or trying to pitch a no-hitter, or, his early football days in high school, and getting into the, being the first one to practice and the last one to leave, and, always wanting to be, it's just ingrained in him. It's just something about him that's just, it's great. I think it's almost to a detriment to him, because he's so focused on winning all the time.
His relationship with Ozzie Newsome, it's obviously one that helped define Eric's career. The fact that Ozzie took a liking to him, they have such a great working relationship. does that friendship still mean to Eric?
Oh my gosh, everything. Yeah, I mean, Eric and Ozzy are like, I mean, father and son, best friends. He goes to Ozzy for any kind of advice. I'll tell you the first time, Eric was just a player personnel assistant, and he had a couple other guys ahead of like Phil Savage and
George,
um,
Cocanis.
the other guy's name, who left and went to New England, and he's now on the NFL Network. It's escaping me, but anyhow.
Okay.
Eric was just like this young kid out of college, and he had gone to grad school, and Ozzy saw something in him because he was just a go-getter. And he'll tell you the story, like the first time Ozzy just told him to come in and watch some tape with him. And that was one of those magical moments that just changed his life.
It's just really funny to think about what happens if Phil doesn't leave to go to Cleveland, if George doesn't leave. I mean, things opened up in a way for Eric that was tremendous to have that relationship get furthered,
The 10 days before we got married, I'll tell you a story. That was when Phil was being interviewed by the Eagles, and Phil wanted Eric to go with him, and we're getting married. Half the organization's coming. It was the first time there was a actual Ravens relationship wedding, blah, blah, blah. So Eric and I are sitting, it was actually the night Phil flew in from Alabama and was going to meet with the Modells to talk to them about his opportunity in Philadelphia. He came over to our house at like 1:00 in the morning to talk to Eric. And he was like, I want you to come with me. And Eric was like,
right, I'm getting married
here
to a
with
girl
Ozzy,
here.
like I can't. So the next day I remember, Eric was really racking his brain because he was really close with Phil, and the phone rang. He and I were just sitting there in our little townhouse in Federal Hill, and the phone rang, and Eric answered it. And it was Ozzy, and Ozzy was like, "Hey, Oz," they talked for like 30 seconds. He was like, "Yeah, she's right here." So he asked to talk to me. And so I get on the phone, and he was like, "Lacie, I just want you to know, I'm going to take care of Eric for the rest of his life. He's not going anywhere."
Wow.
So,
So Lacie, let me ask you, because that was kind of going to be my question. Even after Phil left for Philadelphia, there were many chances for Eric to leave. He had offers, as most people know, Chicago, Jacksonville, New York, maybe more that we don't know of. And he never took them. He remained loyal to the Ravens. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, being from Baltimore and knowing what this town is like and how we value our own, like, would you wanted to have left with him? Or did you entirely leave the decision up to him? Or how deep did you guys talk about it? Because it would have been great professional opportunities for him at that time.
So marrying a scout, I'll go back to my dad. We had lots of talks about, Eric, my dad would say to me, "Lace, this is not a position where you're probably going to stay in Baltimore forever."
Right.
And this is my home. So that was hard to swallow. And I'm not going to say that I never told Eric. I was scared about moving. I was super close to my family, and knowing that Eric travels 180 days out of the year is a scary thought, to be in a city that I don't know anyone. So yes, it was Eric, but also saw that it really worked here. It really worked having family here. It made it easier for me, which made it easier for him.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the truth be told, what happened was when it was a couple weeks before our second child was born, Michael, and Eric had dinner with all the scouts, and he stayed behind and talked, and Steve asked him to stay behind. And I'm sure you all have heard this story where Steve told him, and that was it. Like that was it. It was an agreement between the two of them. And Eric was never turning back on that agreement, ever. It was never a question. He was staying in Baltimore. He told Steve he was going to stay in Baltimore. So
He
Steve
gave him his word.
Word. Yeah, he gave him his word. Right.
Yep.
Stan, let me ask one more quick one, and then I'm going
Sure.
to turn it over.
Sure.
When Eric gets home, okay, so we know, his job is public, right?
Right.
We know the transactions, we know the trades, we know the draft choices, we know all that stuff. But when he gets home, how deeply, or do you not deeply at all, talk about his job? Like, what happens when Eric gets home? Does he leave it?
He usually comes home. We like to eat dinner together. So I'm usually in the kitchen, like putting something together. And I let him unload on me. Like if he wants to talk about it, great. And there are times he'll come in and he's like, this happened, or this is about to happen, and I need just to talk to you about it. And I just listen. So, and then there are times when I know he doesn't want to talk about, I never really pry unless it's like something like, like for instance, Orlando Brown. I mean, I loved him. I mean, when he came home, we were both sad. Like that was just, it was a hard thing. But a happy, bittersweet ending. But, things like that, like it's a business, but there's a lot of personal side to it. And he's human. So it's hard for him. Of course, he's going to want to sometimes like talk to me about things because we're partners, and best friends. And he knows I'm not going to say anything to anybody. And he knows I'm not going to judge, and I'm not going to have a fan opinion, because I always just tell him to follow your heart, and, whatever happens is going to be fine. We'll get through whatever happens. So,
right.
But yes, I mean, it just depends on the time and the day and how he's feeling. There are times I'll have the NFL Network on when he comes home, and he's like, turns it off right away. Doesn't want to see it.
Has Eric's demeanor at all changed with his job title changing, where he was Ozzy's assistant and his main focus always appeared to be the draft? But has he changed at all since then, since he became the general manager of the team?
I think if there's anything that's changed about him, it's just maybe like the level of responsibility that he feels, and that weighs on him maybe more than it had before. He constantly says to me, when he has to make big decisions, like, I'm just going to do what's best for the team. I have to do what's best for the team. I have to block out the rest of the noise. So, is he affected by some of the stuff that he hears from fans? Sure. Anybody would be. But at the same time, they have a plan, and they're staying with that plan. And he knows that in the end.
But I was actually referring to when you met him, how much time he spent away, and just the fact that now he's more centered as being the head of the organization, that he doesn't have to do all that travel.
You mean, what do you mean? Like
when he was scouting, when he was the head of scouting, he was traveling 140 days a year,
right,
something like that. Now I imagine he's much more centered here in Baltimore. Yeah,
very much so. Very much so. When he was scouting, he was kind of like, okay, getting up in the morning, and he had a regiment. Like, all right, I get up, I'm going to get my coffee, I'm going to go to school, and then I'm going to watch tape, and then I'm going to meet the coach, and then I'm going to go practice, and then I get it back up, and then I'm going to drive 100 miles to the next school. And so, whereas here, he's managing everything now, and it's like, but I don't know that there's anybody better that can handle multitasking more than anybody I know. Even on a personal side, if I call him and he's in the middle of 10 different things with John or whatever, and he's like, give me a second, and he's, if something arises, he's like, he takes care of it. It's just the way he is. He's just built that way.
So I know how much he and Ozzy they literally loved the draft, the whole process.
Mhm.
could you almost tell, like, whether it was January 1st or February 1st that, uh-oh, he's in this mode now?
Um,
Was it that you could feel it?
it kind of clicks right when the season ends, which
Okay.
usually is bittersweet. And, you know, the season's really hard for him because, you know, it's, you know, you live and die by Sundays or Mondays or whatever it is. And, when the season's over, he kind of like, it's kind of strange. He sort of like he morphs into this like other person where it's like, okay, game on. Now it's my turn to like reinvent, you know, whatever we have to do, fix what, just to make us better, like whatever it is. Like, and he almost gets like re-energized after he mourns for like 24, 48 hours.
That's a great quality, I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to ask, because of his job and I wouldn't say 24/7, but 12 months a year now really is what it is.
Mhm.
How do you guys split up the parental responsibilities? Like, you know, he's the master of the football team. Are you the master of the house or the mistress of the house?
Yeah, but you know what? He does a lot. Like he really does. Like for instance, he's picking up our son at lacrosse tonight so that I can do the Zoom with you. So he usually takes the late shift. So he'll stay at work until 7:30, 7:45, and then he'll go pick up, you know, our sons that have lacrosse until about now. And he's the first one up out of bed, and he packs the boys' lunch. He wakes them up in the morning so that I can get a couple, you know, 20 minutes more sleep or whatever. And before COVID, he was taking the boys down to school 3 or 4 days a week. But now because of the COVID protocols, they have to get dropped off a little bit later. And, you know, we have to check the green check and all that. So he's really missed that. He's really missed that because he would leave the house at 7, take the boys to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, and that was their time. But this year I was kind of a miss. So he does miss that part. But, you know, he's very regimented. So
What about around draft time or just in general? You know, many athletes are notoriously superstitious about things, about the method with which they dress before a game. It's methodical. You know, they like the routine of certain things. Is Eric a particularly superstitious person when it comes to football and to do things the same way all the time, et cetera, et cetera?
I wouldn't say superstitious. He's not really, you know, he doesn't believe in that kind of stuff, but he definitely is methodical. He likes, you know, it's the same every year. It's kind of like Groundhog Day pretty much, but he definitely likes the routine. He loves meeting with the scouts. Like that's so great when they can come back into town because most of them don't live around here. So he loves that time with them and, you know, stacking the board and, you know, and then getting the coach's influence. And it really is a team effort. So, yeah, it's funny. He does get the closer and closer we get to the draft, the less sleep he gets, the more he talks in his sleep, the more, you know, he'll get up. If he wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you'll find him on his way to the office because if he can't sleep, he'll just go. So, which was interesting during COVID because, you know, last spring when we were here, it was kind of cool. I mean, it was the first time that we got to experience that with him. And he has his home office here and, you know, they were able to set everything up in there for him. So he would just kind of get up and if he couldn't sleep, he'd just walk next door to his office and go in there. And so, which, you know, so COVID had its pluses and minuses, but pretty much he is a routine guy when it comes to the off season for sure.
How is Eric and how are you with getting to know the players? Is it a very personal thing for him to get to know the Orlando Browns, the Lamar Jacksons, the Ray Lewises? I mean, is it very personal?
You he doesn't really talk so much about that. He just, it's hard, I think, and a person in his position. But at the same time, it's a human relation, it's a business where there's a lot of human interaction. And of course, you have relationships that form. So, it is bittersweet when you have to make decisions like you did. But that was a pretty incredible experience because both sides kind of won there, so,
Yeah.
but it's hard. It is hard. I mean, it weighs on him. So.
And his relationship with Steve Bisciotti,
Mhm.
can you remember a moment where that relationship was really solidified? I know you talked about the point where Ozzie asked to speak to you on the phone.
Mhm.
Was that something you could touch and feel how close Eric is to Steve?
I can remember the moment that I noticed how close they really were. We had just beaten the Titans in 2000, and Eric and I were heading back to the hotel, and we ran into Steve actually, and he was a relatively new owner at the time,
Yep.
like a year or two, whatever. We ran into Steve on the bridge, and he ran to Eric, and Eric ran to him, and they just it was a huge embrace and high five. And, I was like, I did not know that they had that type of relationship. And I don't think that Eric really realized it at that point either. But,
Yep.
and they just, I'm sure you guys know this, but they have the same birthday. They're very much alike.
Did not know they had the same birthday.
Yes.
Yeah.
They just, Eric is very, very straightforward with Steve, and Steve is the same with him. So I think they appreciate that, that relationship that they have with each other. Eric's not going to sugarcoat things, and they've always just gotten along. They just click.
And what is that birthday?
April
What's the-
10th.
April 10th. So they just celebrated.
Yeah.
You've got an anniversary coming up, don't you?
Yes. June 2nd, 20 years.
20 years.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That is a big one. That is a big one. Has your life been exactly as you imagined it, or has the fact that you ended up understanding that he was settled in Baltimore, that must have taken a big relief off of your shoulders, knowing that he was going to stay here?
It did. It did. But I was always willing to go wherever he wanted to go. And I knew that it was his dream, and I was a part of that. And I bought into that when we started dating and got engaged. So, is my life what I imagined it? I think so.
Okay.
I've always wanted to be, a full-time mom. I wanted to give back. I've always wanted to give back to the community. I've always wanted to be which is funny. I go back to my college. I was a sociology major, and I ended up working for the Ravens and doing a lot of community relations things for them and in the marketing department. And then when I left, I got very involved in some nonprofits in Baltimore. And I feel like Eric and I, that's sort of the part where, Eric's always asked to do things in the community. And I love that part of it because I love Baltimore. And so I guess, life, it goes full circle. So no matter, it was always my passion to give back and be that, work in the community. And it was
What
never
are some
about
of
finances.
What are some of the things that you like to give back? I know this ended up being a lot of us asking you questions about Eric, but what do you like to do to give back in the community?
So I was on the board of the family tree for a number of years. And really I loved being a part of the family tree. I think what they do is incredible for the city of Baltimore. Honestly, whatever people ask, when the whole Jimmy's Seafood was running that campaign, I couldn't get enough of it. It's almost like I almost get kind of crazed by kind of stuff like that, whatever I can do to help. And and Eric is so passionate too. And he loves that I get so involved in that kind of stuff. And he is always willing to give his time. And I'm on Twitter and I get a lot of these kids that send me messages and ask to do an interview with Eric, or can I help with this cancer foundation or whatever it is. And I'm always like showing Eric these things. I'm like, we have to help people. So, and he's so giving of his time and he loves it. We love it. I mean, it's a responsibility that we know that we have, and it doesn't feel like one. It's just, comes with who we are. And
I could see how genuine Eric was the times I would see him with Mo Gabba.
Yeah.
That really moved him, didn't it, quite a bit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when he called me and told me that the Ravens had just found out that, they weren't doing any more treatment, and that was really hard on Eric. And
yeah,
it's hard on everybody. The whole city of Baltimore just mourns him still.
Yeah.
We still will, always will. What a special human he was, and still is, really.
Yeah. Hey, we really appreciate your being willing to do this. Gary,
Oh,
you have anything
anytime.
else?
Been
Gary,
great.
you have anything else you want to
I just have a final quick one. You talk about how life changes, right? And, obviously your life changed when you were a senior in college and that phone call came, but, your life is going to be changing soon too, Lacie. I know it's in the back of your mind, but, your kids are growing up.
Yeah.
And one is really close to college age and another one is right on the doorstep. I've got kids, they're 27 and 26. So I've already been through that. Have you given much thought at all as to what maybe lies ahead for you in the next few years once your kids continue to grow up, God willing, and go out of the house?
The inevitable empty nester.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they're going to really be annoyed because I'm going to follow them wherever they go. I mean, our daughter's decided to go to Penn State, and we're going to go to the Penn State Auburn game. And then 2 weeks later, I think it's a parents' weekend. So it just kind of feels, it's crazy. It's a weird feeling, having a daughter that's about to graduate. And, but I have these two boys that are going to keep me busy while she's in college. And I'm certainly going to miss her every second of the day. She's become, my best friend. So
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but hey, away helps. I mean, that was pretty cool, right?
So was that the giveaway that we would have known had we talked to you last week?
I don't know.
He was going Penn State.
It was pretty cool. I'll tell you the real quick story. Eric really pushed Penn State for Jane. He really, really wanted her to go there.
Right.
When she just, wanted to go south, she kept pushing south. And so he said, okay. So he contacted, we had a scout, a couple, Anthony Poindexter. We have a couple guys, Ravens people that are in the football office at Penn State. So he, pulled some strings, and we got like the red carpet treatment when we went up there to go visit. Pouring down, rainy day, and got the whole walk through the football office, and we got to meet Coach Franklin. And I'm going to tell you, this is the coolest story ever, and it sort of sealed the deal for me. It was the first time I walked on Penn State's campus. We're sitting in his office, and of course, the first thing he asks is, how's Trace? And Eric's like, Trace is great. Trace is great. He's an awesome asset to Lamar. Like he fits in perfect. And there's pictures of Trace in his office. So it was really cool. So then he gets into talking about how he has these, 2 daughters, and he's a girl dad. And he looks at Jane and he was like, how can I get you to come to Penn State? And she said, I don't know right now. It's like my first, it's one of my top choices. And he said, well, I'll get you, if you want a job in the football office, I can get you a job. And then he steps up and he goes and gets his business card, and he hands it to Jane. And he says, if you come to Penn State and anything happens to you, anything, he's like, this is my personal cell phone number. You call me, and I got you until your parents get here. Eric and I both were like, okay, where do we sign the check?
That's a very cool moment.
Yeah, it was. And so, we got an awesome tour for the rest of the day. And then that afternoon we went to lunch and she said, this is it. This is where I want to go. So,
Wow.
and then
That's a
we
great
have to
story.
draft Oweh, and it's just full circle. So it's just an exciting spring for Penn State and the Ravens. That's for sure. And the DeCostas.
Hey, we really appreciate this. Lacie DeCosta, we
Oh,
really,
anytime,
we
guys.
really
Great
appreciate
Thank you
to
it.
so
see
much,
you.
Lacie. It's
All
great
right.
to
You're
see
so
you.
welcome. All right.
Please
Take
tell
care.
Eric we send our best, all
I
right?
will.
All
for
right.
sure.
Maybe,
All right.
maybe you can pull a string and get him to do this with us.
I will.
I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
I
I'm kidding.
will. I will definitely ask. And
All right. Thank you,
Okay.
darling. Really
right.
appreciate it.
All right,
Lacie
thank you.
DeCosta, want to remind you that Pressbox Live has been brought to you by C3 American Exteriors. Go to their website at c3america.com and get a brand new roof for just the cost of your insurance deductible. Again, as I point out each and every show, there's no greater expense you'll have at your home than taking care of your roof. I know these guys. I like these guys. I trust these guys. Go to c3america.com. For Lacie DeCosta, Gary Stein, I'm Stan the Fan. We'll see you down the road a little bit.
Take care.